actually. I think maybe 2. So I've been busy at home working, and I want to show you some of the stuff I've been working on. But thanks for flying me here. It's a long way, but really good. So there's 2 ways I could spend the next hour. I could have a really slow, measured, forceful TED Talk style thing with just a few points made really well. Or I could go for blistering speed and just shower you with millions of facts and hope you grab from that what is applicable to you. I'm going to go for the latter approach. So get ready. So what I want to talk about is Moodle is a learning platform, which it is these days, and the focus we're putting on that. There are a lot of people using Moodle in a lot of different contexts, and every institution is different. Every teacher is different, and every student is different, and there's no one solution for everybody. So while we're trying to make things more of a platform that people can build on. So first I'll talk about Moodle as a platform, I'll talk about our current major projects, and I'm trying to give you here the point of view from us, from Moodle HQ in Perth, and you know, what we're thinking about. But over the next couple of days, you're going to be hearing from lots of other people talking about lots of different other angles on Moodle. I'll talk about Moodle 2.3, which I'm very proud of, Moodle 2.4, which is late this year, and the things we're doing after that. I'll talk about mobile stuff, and then the future. So it's important to think of Moodle as a platform. This is a very old slide, it's still extremely applicable. In fact, it's more applicable than ever. That we have Moodle Core, the core software, which is what myself and my team develop, with contributions from all around the place. On top of that, you have modules, and then you have the course design element, which is really important. The teacher's design or the instructional designer's input can completely change how the course looks and acts. And then on top of that, you have the user contributions themselves, which also influence the result. Everything else, we use standards where possible, that's why it's the standards, etc., to link to those other systems. Because we don't want to be wasting time developing portfolios or repositories or student information systems, all those things are developed by other people. So we link with them. Moodle HQ has been growing. That's all the faces currently in my employment at our company. And it's getting really interesting now with this many people, actually. It started off, Moodle was very flat. All the developers were on an equal footing, basically. And when we decided on work to do, it was all like, well, why don't you do that and I'll do this. And now we're actually having to structure ourselves a lot better. So this is our focus now. We're focused on these 4 things. We're focused on plugins. We're focused on the processes of Moodle development and how we get everybody to work together most effectively and efficiently. We're focused on usability. Moodle hasn't the best reputation for how it looks and its usability. It does have an enormous amount of features, as you know, underneath. And it's a matter of getting those features up and making them very visible so that we get people using them more. And finally, integrations and how we integrate with other things to produce a platform, so you can produce a platform. So the first thing about plugins is that we're really looking at plugins now like apps for the Moodle operating system. And we're all getting very familiar with this approach with phones and computers, that you customize your device how you like. And Moodle should be the same. And in the past, we've always had plugins, but we've not really quite had the infrastructure around it to make it really as easy as apps. So this approach makes it really easy for developers. Developers can add functionality to Moodle in a clean way. It makes it easier for users because they can pick and choose the bits of functionality they want. Particularly since Moodle 2, we've really made these plugins more robust. So these are some of the things we're doing. In the last year, we've released the Moodle plugins database on Moodle.org, which now contains all the known plugins that are published by developers, and they're in a very structured way. This page looks a bit confusing. but these are the types of plugins we have. And we now have 2 people dedicated to maintaining this. So Anthony Borrow, who's around, are you here? Hey Anthony. He's been working on helping people with Contrib, as we used to call it, but plug-in stuff for many years. And we're now going to develop a Moodle HQ who's dedicated to that too, Apu Banerjee. And they'll be working together to approve and curate this collection of plugins. Now the important thing about this is that the plugins now are very highly structured, and they connect to your Moodle site. Your Moodle site can now connect to this database, and you can get notifications about updates to modules, for example. Or you can find modules that are related to each other. So if you download this module and you need another module, it will tell you and you can get the other modules as well. So in 2.3, we added this notification system that tells you about new modules. In 2.4, we're going to allow you to upgrade completely via the web. So not only as an admin will you get notified there's new versions of Moodle, new versions of app plugins, but you can hit a button, download it, then upgrade Moodle right there and then. There's some security issues there that you need to be aware of, but the upside to that is that you will be upgrading. And how many people here are using Moodle 1.9 still right now? Okay, that's over half. How many people here are using Moodle 2? It's about equal. Yeah, it's about equal. Now, Moodle 1.9 is like nearly 5 years old. It's really old. And, and I want you to upgrade to Moodle 2. And that's part of my case here this morning. But I realise it's hard, and because we had a very long gap between 1.9 and 2.0, because we did a lot of work. And during that very long period, people were installing plugins from all over the place. They were extending Moodle and hacking on it and doing all these great things that open source allows. Unfortunately, that also got me stuck on 1.9 because it made the upgrade harder. And the whole point of plugins and this approach is that in future the upgrades will be a lot easier. Once all your plugins are compatible, you'll see that and you can just hit upgrade and you'll be able to upgrade a lot easier. We're also making our versions a lot more incremental. So you notice now we're releasing every 6 months. And that means from 2.2 to 2.3, there's only small changes. So you don't have this one great big upgrade to do. So I really want you to get off 1.9. So to help the developers with plugin stuff, we spent a month last January, all of January, the whole of Moodle HQ basically, writing documentation for plugins to help developers understand how to write good plugins. And we're continuing that, improving those and helping developers write plugins with a lot of development docs. And that's on Moodle Wiki, of course. We're also, right now, connecting up to the translation engine. We have a big site that handles translation. It's a whole system we wrote. It's at lang.moodle.org. And that's what translators use to translate the default text of Moodle, which is English, although not American English, it's Australian English, as you may know from the enrollment word, into American English. And also into all the other nearly 100 languages that we support. That system will now also support the plugins. So when a developer makes a new plugin with the English default language in it, it can be automatically translated through the system into all those 100 languages as well, just like the core Moodle does. And that really helps people around the world. I think we've got a Hebrew translation going on the screen here. So secondly, our processes internally. We've been spending a lot of time in the last year, 2 years, on improving our processes. I want development to be open. I want you to be able to get involved in the development at any point. We want it to be efficient, we don't want to waste time, we don't want 2 people working on the same thing, we don't want people redoing anything. In fact, that's my pet hate of anything in the world, is redoing something. I just can't stand it. Transparent, so you can see what we are doing as well. I want it to be predictable, you know when releases are coming out. And it should be stable. Once you get onto a stable version of Moodle, it should be stable. It shouldn't be giving you any problems. So the sort of things we've been doing is in a Moodle tracker, we've been working on our workflow in there. And there's a diagram on the side which I'm not expecting you to read, but that's the workflow for approving one single bug fix to Moodle. It goes through 3 separate reviews by 3 separate people. It goes through this whole quality assurance process just to make one little fix in Moodle. That's not a major feature here. It can just be a fix. And we have people at every stage of that process who basically have an input queue of work to do, and they produce an output queue which goes to the next person. And so everybody knows what they're doing, and we're all working together in a really good workflow. And we've been refining it, tweaking it, and it's getting really good. And so as a team, we're becoming very efficient at fixing things. And that's good for everyone. We've switched to using Git, and we encourage all developers to use Git. Is anybody here still using CBS? Any developers? Okay, good. We've completely moved everything to Git. We completely use Git. And Git allows, for example, for those who aren't programmers, if I make a few changes to a script in Moodle, I can just very quickly give it to any other developer anywhere in the world, and they can very quickly integrate that in their own Moodle and just check it out, see what it looks like, try it out, and give me, maybe make some more changes and pass those changes back to me, and we can pass that work around really quickly, and that's essential. Moodle Docs, we're continually working on Moodle Docs to explain Moodle and explain the processes. We have development roles, like I was saying before. We have people who are dedicated testers. We have people who do all the different roles that we need. We are building up a lot of automation. Our test manager has built up a few things. One of the systems we have for the testing process is every time one of these fixes gets into Moodle, we automatically run a battery of tests on Moodle to make sure it hasn't broken anything. So we run all the unit tests, we run, we check the white space errors in the code, we look for all these automated things, and then immediately, within a minute or two, the integrator who puts the code in gets a message, actually a Java message, saying, yep, that's good, or that's not good. So that's one. Secondly, we have automated interface testing. The QA tests that we do are now all being automated with Selenium, and we have hundreds of these tests on every function of Moodle from a user point of view. A robot is basically looking at a web browser and pressing all the buttons and just making sure that everything still works, and that gets run nightly. And we're also doing performance automation testing as well, checking that performance hasn't gone up or down as a result of any changes that have come in recently. That's all just ensuring quality. We're also doing a lot of training now with every Moodle developer at Moodle HQ has to go through the Moodle course creator certification. So they basically have to prove that they can teach with Moodle. And it's funny, if you're a developer, you don't actually have to know how to use Moodle. You can actually fix bugs without even using Moodle at all. Without even knowing what a quiz is, really. You can still fix a bug in the quiz. But it's important for the developers to actually know how Moodle works, so we're training them, we're doing all that sort of thing. That's been going well. So we've broken into these 4 teams now. We've got management, we've got the test team, we've got the dev team working on the new features. We've got the stable team who only work on bug fixes and on helping the community get their bug fixes in. And the integration team, they're the gatekeepers. That's all the senior developers who know a lot about Moodle right across the code. They are the ones responsible for allowing things to get into your production version that you see. So they're the ones to be bribing if you want to bribe anybody. And there's a whole team of them, they work in rotation. So usability stuff that we're working on. The key thing here is focusing on what's most important, because there are lots of different things you can do in this area. So the frustrations, what we're doing is we're gathering experiences for 2.3. I did a little survey, and I'm going to do another one very soon, which I think I call the survey. And I only had 2 questions: what annoys you most, and what do you like the most? And I got something nearly 1,000 people responding to that, and it was a very useful little data set. But we also have the Moodle tracker. A lot of people constantly posting, and you should be putting stuff in the tracker if anything concerns you. From that, prioritising, concentrating down to it, some roadmap and communicate that to you. So some of the things we've been doing, improving the tracker again, as voting. We look at votes on tracker issues. So even if it takes a while sometimes, it is all in there. It's got to be in there, so please vote on things that you want to stick with. We also get a lot of really useful feedback from Moodle partners. Such as Moodle Rooms who are here and NETSPA. We have 54 Moodle partners around the world. They all have a lot of clients and a lot of very honest feedback from people who are paying for their services. So we get a lot of really good stuff from them, and that informs the development process as well. Mooch, the Moodle.org open community hub, which is for course sharing, is meant to be a place for sharing examples of best practice. That's more usability from the course designer level, if you remember my diagram of the levels. I want people to be sharing really good, effective courses so that other people can learn what good courses look like. Moodle.org is about to get a big revamp. We're going to simplify Moodle.org a lot, make it easier to use and easier to get help. Moodle.com had a bit of an upgrade recently. And there's some usability studies coming from some people who specialise in that. But really, we already know about so many things that we want to fix. So fourthly, integrations. This is about Moodle connecting with other things, other systems. So Moodle really is a team member on the internet. There are lots of other tools around that you want to use, that I want to use, and Moodle should connect with them. Things like repositories. One of the most interesting and exciting standards lately is IMS LTI. Is Chuck here? Great, Chuck. Oh, there you go. Hello. Catch up with you later. The man who saw his LTI, he has tattoos on his arm. And it's well worth it. It's well worth tattooing, because this standard actually promotes so many good ways of connecting systems in such a simple way that it actually works, as opposed to hyper complicated standards that are out there that are just too complicated to be successful. IMS Common Cartridge is another way of passing content around. We added support for LTI and Common Cartridge back in Moodle 2.2. OAuth 2.0 is a way of authenticating between systems. We have some support for that now, and we're adding more support. And open badges is a very exciting one. Basically, I invented this a while back, just in my mind, and then someone else has come up with a system, which is very handy. But this is a really nice approach to giving out badges, which sound trivial, but actually it's certification. It's the after you've assessed someone, you want to give them something that they can show for it. Right? So the open badges system is a nice way of doing that, and we've got some friends in the community working on that for Moodle in the future too. Well, let me show you a bit of Moodle 2.3. This is actually a picture of me and my kids in Minecraft. Has anybody here played Minecraft? Have some Minecraft user hands? About 10 people. If you've got kids and you don't know about Minecraft, I would probably advise you check it out. This is the most social, constructivist game you've ever seen. It's so open. Basically, you just pile up blocks and you make stuff out of it. We made this 2.3 out of cotton wool blocks together, me and the kids. And check it out anyway. It's really good. So let's have a look. I'm going to switch to the browser. So some of the new things you may not have seen yet in 2.3. Is anybody here using 2.3 already? Got some hands? About 20 people. All right. So the main focus here was getting rid of the frustrations with courses and files, which were really the biggest issues people were having with Moodle 2 before this. So some of the things are, so I'm in editing mode here, of course, let me turn off editing mode. So the first thing you might notice is on this page that it's not showing the full course, it's just showing like the heading and the subject for each of these sections on the course, with a little summary here of what's inside. There's a folder there and so on. When I turn editing on, then you can see the changes. So the main difference here is that now sections, if you want to, can be on individual pages, on sub-pages. So I'm now looking at only one particular section. This is the first section, the first topic here. And above it, you see the general topic. So Moodle courses of tradition will always have section 0 at the top, a general one. If you have that, if you have any content in there, it'll show on every page. If you don't have a section 0, it doesn't show at all. So it's your choice. But if you want something completely generic to show on every page, you can put it in section 0. And so then you can flip from section to section, navigating fairly intuitively to the next one, to the next one. And you can see them here in the navigation block as well. I'm just going to put these blocks back up on the dock. Show them more easily. So you can very quickly jump between the sections that way as well. Let's stay on that. All of our Ajax editing stuff is being cleaned up. Dragging blocks around is a lot easier. Now this worked before, but yeah, so dragging and dropping of blocks works. Dragging and dropping everything works. You can drag and drop anything around the course. You may notice the activity results menus are gone. We now have a single pop-up for that. This is something I've been wanting to add for such a long time. I'm so glad we finally have it. In very early versions of Moodle, there was some help that was next to these menus that told you what each module was. And somehow Moodle 2 got deleted. I haven't dared to find out who it was because I'll get too angry at them. But you can see now when you're adding an activity, there's some help for everything. So you can find out about what they are. And the resources are all down here. And it's just say forum. And there's an add button, but you can also just double click. So it's actually really quick to get to this screen where you're actually adding a forum. Now the other nice thing is you can drag and drop file content straight in. So let me just quit some things here. Right, so here's my course. I'm looking at one particular section. Here's a folder on my desktop which contains a number of files, and I can just select some files, drag and drop them into the little window. You'll notice that they uploaded, you've got little progress bars. Now, one of these files was a zip folder, a zip file. Now, a zip could be multiple things in it. Right? So it actually asks you now, for this file, Moodle Android source zip, do you want to unzip it and create a folder, or do you want to create a single file resource for them to download the zip, or do you want to add a SCORM package, if you know it's a SCORM package? So in this case, I'll just unzip it and create a folder. And you can see it's processing there, it's done. Now it's a folder full of files. And so there's all those files. Unfortunately, the Android project's been abandoned. And I'll talk about that later. Because a better solution. Here's a SCORM one. I'll just drop a SCORM one just to show you. Clicking too many times. So I'll add this as a SCORM package, and so that's a SCORM activity. they're things like videos, then they just automatically become embedded. If they are other things like pictures, they become embedded. There's the picture there. So everything just sort of comes up pretty much by default, pretty clean and useful. But of course, you can go and edit it then. So if you want to edit, you can hit the edit button. If you just want to change the name, so this is that picture I just showed. It's called Chai 2 Moodle. Some student made this. Mechanical operation, organism design, biological exploration. If I wanted to fix that name very quickly, we have a new little edit thing in the page. It's the sort of thing you've got used to on other websites, but it's nice that it sort of moves. It's a lot quicker. So the initial building of a course, if you have a bunch of files, is just drag, drop, update the titles, and you're done. Right? Nothing reloads at any time. So that's that. The last thing I wanted to show here is that when you're looking at the course, and you may have had this before, and I'll just point out here that because I'm a teacher, when I look at the main course page, I see all the sections on one page, just for easier editing. But when I turn editing off, it goes back to that one section per page. You probably had the situation where you just want to add one more section on the end of the course, and you had to go into the course settings and change the number. So now you just hit plus or minus down the bottom, and it adds another topic there. Or you can get rid of it as well. So, that was some files. Let's look at some more files. We have a new file picker, and it's got a lot fewer clicks than before. So let me go into this folder here. And this is a folder which has a few files in it. This is for students to see. If you want to give them a whole lot of files, you put them in a folder. Because I'm a teacher, I can edit these. So the file areas, as these are called, now have proper thumbnails. So if they're pictures, they have thumbnails. You can see them. They have better representations of all different file types. And when you add, you can do the things you could do before, creating folders and so on. Actually, I'll show this first. There's different views now, so you can actually view things properly by type, by size. Last modified dates. If they've got subfolders, you can see a tree view. It's what you expect from an operating system. When I'm adding a file, I can go into this. So this is the file picker. So the file picker we had in Moodle 2 for a long time, but it's been cleaned up a lot, as you can see. We have a designer now who's actually making things look nice. It also works a lot more useful. So you can see recent files and so on. Now down the left here are a number of repositories that I've added. It's probably hard to see that from the back, so I'll read them out. So here's one. This is the one to Wikimedia, which we've had for some time. And say I want to look for a picture of a pony. That goes off to Wikipedia and searches for Creative Commons licensed images. So you can grab one of those. The Dropbox integration. So you've got the Dropbox there. Let's see, test. So there's some files sitting on Dropbox. And quickly, box.net. There's Equella, which is a new one. Equella is a proprietary repository, and we worked with them to fix both sides. So Equella's had improvements, Moodle's had improvements, so that this now works. In this case, Equella can take over the whole pane of this screen and control the interface. So you can do a search inside Equella, look for something, and totally navigate inside Equella. At the time you want to actually choose a file, then you hit select, and then it downloads the file, pre-populates all the fields and so on. Flickr, Google Docs. Things like Google Docs, you do your login like that. So that's our auth in action. Moodle never remembers passwords. Okay, so when students are doing this or teachers, Moodle never gets any access to this stuff. It's at this point in time, I as a user, I'm giving Moodle access to my Google Docs so that it can get the files. But the passwords are never remembered, so it's pretty secure. There's Amazon S3, there's Picasso, etc. And this is not standard. All those are standard. This one isn't yet, but it will be in 2.4 with a better interface than this. But this shows how the repository interface is so useful. This is recording an audio file. And so there's a little flash interface built in here, and I can hit record, and it'll be talking like this. Talking, and play it back. And it'll be talking like this, and just save it. And so now I've got MP3 in there, in Moodle, like that. So it's really, the whole file picker paradigm is about us getting data from everywhere into Moodle. And we've had that since Moodle 2, but I don't think a lot of people have really used that yet. One of the big problems that was raised in the survey was that people didn't like this feature of Moodle grabbing stuff and bringing it into Moodle all the time. Why do you want to make copies of stuff? I've got it out there in my repository. The last thing I want to do is copy it into Moodle. So, one of the other big new features is the ability to reference files in repositories. So let me go back to Aquella for the example here. Well, actually, Dropbox. Yeah, let's go Dropbox. So in this Dropbox folder, I've got a couple of random PDFs of an image. I'm going to select this image. Now you see these two new options. For repositories that support this, you can make a copy as usual or create an alias/shortcut to the file. So it's like a shortcut on Windows or an alias on Macs or a symbolic link on Unix. Now what this does, this is not a link. This is not like a web link. In the past, you could make a link. So in a web page, you can say, I want to embed an image, but the image is going to stay on the other website, and you've basically got the URL to the image. This is different. This is actually, the file will be protected inside Moodle's security system, but it's like a shortcut or an alias to the file on the repository. If the file on the repository changes, it also updates in Moodle automatically. But you cannot access the repository file directly. If a student somehow discovers the URL to it, they won't be able to access it. They need to go via Moodle. So Moodle provides that access control. So that way, all your roles and permissions will work. If you have groups, like a forum with groups, and you post an attachment into one, for one group, but not the other group, then all that will work. The students will not be able to discover those files or reach those files. So it keeps everything very secure. And yet, the repository is controlling the files, and the repository can serve the files. In the case of the Aquella one, for more technical people, when you access the file in Moodle, it does all the security checks, it builds a token, and it actually redirects you to the URL of an Aquella. And Aquella serves the file to you directly, but it's secure through these tokens. And that token disappears after a few minutes, so no one else can access it. So what this means is that finally repositories are used properly. We've been pushing people to repositories, but now they work. Well, so what you can see here is, can you see that little arrow icon there next to that image? And if I click on it, it tells me where the original is. It's in Dropbox. So in case you need to go and find the original. And if I update that thing in Dropbox, it will change here too. There's no thumbnail on that, so I'm not sure why. So what we're proposing for most people is that if you haven't got a big fancy repository, you can use something out there on the internet like Dropbox. You can also use the private files in Moodle as your own little repository. So you can put, say you want to have one PDF in 3 courses. You upload it to your private files area, and then you go to the 3 courses and you make these references to the file. And then when you update the original in private files, bang, all three courses will be updated. Yep. So that saves a lot more time as well. So. Did I talk about anything else? Oh, I should have mentioned while we were here that you can also essentially drag and drop files straight into these things as well. Okay. So that just works as you'd expect. All right, we'll get moving. I talked about this repository of business. The assignment module was updated in Moodle 2.3. A whole rewrite, complete rewrite, done by NetSpot, the Moodle partners in Australia, together with a whole bunch of their clients, universities, who helped with the specifications. At this point in 2.3, the assignment module basically does the same thing as the assignment module did in 2.2. However, because it's been rewritten, now there's a whole lot of new features coming in 2.4 on top of that. One of the new things is a new advanced grading interface. Sorry, a new advanced grading plugin. So we added, this is an assignment here, looking at the different users. In Moodle 2.2, we added this ability to define grading methods, a way of grading something. You can basically make a form that plugs in and can be used for grading something. So the first one we added was for rubrics. But this one is another marking. It's called a marking guide, and it has a few nice features they did. You can write descriptions for the marker or descriptions for the student. So the students can see these when they're submitting their assignment. You can type a whole lot of comments in here and just give them a grade. If you have frequent comments that you use a lot, you can actually you can define frequently used comments and put them in really quickly. Now, this interface, this part of the interface, just that part of the grading screen, is a plugin. So, Moodle has just released another one that they've made recently. And if you have a particular type of, grading method you want to use, then a developer can develop these plugins. They're quite easy to develop. And then what happens is the plugin defines the interface, and that defines how all this information gets coalesced into a single grade. And that grade, the final grade, is what goes into the grade book. But it still keeps all this other information. That's it. This is another feature. Whenever you're in Moodle and you type something in a form now and you haven't submitted it, it will warn you. It's trying to make it It's all these little things that add up to usability stuff. The book module, that's one of the most popular third-party modules, has now been added to core. Had a few cleanups along the way. We will continue adding very, very popular third-party modules into core and then taking over their maintenance where necessary or working with the maintainer. So that's the first one in a while we've added. And in case you haven't seen the book module, it's very simply just for posting pages of content with a table of contents. So here you can see some text which I cut and pasted off a random text generating site somewhere on the internet, and you can flip through the pages. You can make this as long and as complex as you like, sub-pages and so on. It's a little thing, but very, very popular. So it's good to have that in core. If you were already using it as a third-party plugin in earlier versions of Moodle and you upgrade to 2.3, the upgrade will be very smooth. All those will just come in. The quiz module had a number of enhancements, mostly to do with what happens when quizzes finish and the student's still going. The workshop module also had a lot of usability improvements. It now automatically switches between phases at certain predefined times or conditions. And I already mentioned the available update notifications. So in the settings now, when you're looking at plugins overview, and you can see here there are updates available, 1, and you can see all your modules that are installed, and somewhere up here actually. Anyway, that's how you can check. So that's actually calling Moodle.org, checking all the versions of all the modules, and working out if there's new modules. And then there's a link to them. On this side, I seem to have lost it. I don't know why I was working this morning. Okay. I think that's it. So that's some of the main features in 2.3. Let me get on with the others. This is some stuff about how things get into the roadmap, how we decide what's coming up. Pedagogical focus is important, but it doesn't make life easy for people. How many votes are there? Can it be a generic thing? How long is it going to take to develop? We have a lot of things that are in development and they're still going, and they have been going for a year or 2 or 3, and will continue to go. So when they're finished, they'll get in. So these are some of the things we're working on. Right now we're working on performance, improving the performance of Moodle, making Moodle work better on the same hardware. And the first thing out of the gate is what we're calling the Moodle Universal Cache, or MUC. Basically, that's, for those who are more technical, you may have heard, you've heard of memcache or memcache daemon. That's basically a way on the server to keep frequently accessed bits of information in an easy to get way, whether it's on a single server or on a cluster. And we're basically building into Moodle this infrastructure for that, and also making frequently used information use this cache system. So if you have a very big university and you want to use the caching system on the back end, you can configure it so Moodle uses that caching system, and that will improve performance quite a lot. We're also attacking various other little performance issues all over the place, and it's really good now. We have this automated performance testing. We can see immediately when these things change, and there's a screenshot back here actually. This is a system that one of our guys built that, and you can't see that very clearly, but it's comparing 2 versions of Moodle that are only a few days apart. And down the left there, it's got like the homepage, login, site calendar, next month, browse course, view forum, view discussion. And it's timing these actions with 300 students at once, attacking these things. And it's comparing database reads, memory usage, files included, server load, session sizes, all these different things. And we can very quickly get feedback on improvements. It's never a simple thing, performance, but we're all focused on it right now. We're looking at usability. There's a new interface for course and category management coming up. And you can look on our roadmap in the Moodle docs if you want to find out more about any of these. We're working on a new icon set. Our designer is very busy building a new default icon set that's not just little tiny icons. They're going to be big 256 by 256 images that we can use to scale. So in future, with high definition screens and so on, we can have these images appearing on any device and look good, and also be consistent. The standard icons in Moodle now are still the same ones that I did with a pixel by pixel editor back 10 years ago. We've changed, and I know they're horrible. Forum, we are looking at the Forum NG from OU to replace the current Forum. I don't think it's going to make 2.4, but definitely that's a big priority. Calendar will be able to import iCal streams into the Moodle calendar. So if you've got a Google Calendar and you want those items to be in the Moodle calendar, that's going to be very easy. It already works the other way, but we want you to go into Moodle. I'd love to hear a yay. Yeah. That also means that Moodle, if you've got multiple Moodles, you can combine all their calendars also. We've been focusing on the upgrade from 1.9 to 2.2. If you're going up to 2.3, you actually have to go to 2.2 first. We've made a stopping point. Occasionally we do that. It means that 2.3 doesn't have all the baggage of 1.9 anymore. So it makes it leaner and cleaner. So you get to 2.2, then you go to 2.3. We've really focused on that upgrade from 1.9 because, like I said, we really want you on 1.9. It's barely supported now. Most of the developers I've hired were hired well after 1.9, and they don't even know how to write stuff in 1.9 anymore. Like it's really getting harder and harder for them to even port things back to it. It's just too many changes. The assignment was going to have new features, like I mentioned. Moodle mobile app, I'll talk about that in a second. The other major things we're working on, the plugins, so this direct download thing I was telling you about, the Moodle plugins. Reporting. There's a lot of talk around about reporting and analytics. Now these can be seen as two different things, but they're obviously related. We're looking at a couple of solutions for the reporting that have already been out there for a while. One is called Report Builder, from which Totara developed, based on the spec I did some years ago. And then there's another one called Configurable Reports, which is quite popular in the community. We're also looking at Ellis reporting from Remote Learner. Trying to come up with something that's best for core. As well as that, there's a lot of analytics work being done by various people, and there's probably some talks about it at this conference, I hope. But really want to improve the feedback that teachers get on students and that students get on themselves in real time if possible. Course formats, going to get a rewrite to make them more pluggable. Repository plugin, the audio video recording that I told you about. The wiki, we're looking at replacing the wiki with the OU wiki. There is a new module coming along called the collection module. It's going to replace the survey and questionnaire and feedback modules with one thing that just does all of that. MNet will be replaced. That's Moodle networking, a little known feature that lets Moodle connect to other Moodles and share courses. You can actually have you may not have known this, but you can have a course on one Moodle site appear as a course in another Moodle site seamlessly. We've had that feature for like 5 years, but no one's really used it. The problem is it's just too proprietary, this protocol we have in between. So we're going to make that more standard. Multi-tenancy.